Should I start?
Wait for it. There we go. And we're recording now. Thanks everyone who's able to join live or watching the recording for Service Fabric Community Q&A number 65. I feel like it was just yesterday we were celebrating the golden 50. We have Divya, Abe, and many others from the team who will be presenting with us today. A quick reminder that today's call is being recorded, and we will share the recording afterwards, both on the YouTube channel as well as in the Azure Connection Programs community. We'll monitor the chat for any questions or comments throughout the session, so keep them coming. And without further ado, Divya, go ahead, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Caesar. Welcome to 65th Tech Community Call. I'm joined here by my team, Abhay, Ankur, Mike, Sukanya, and Sarab from Service Fabric side. In today's session, I'm going to cover key features of the latest Service Fabric release on InnoCU2. After that, I'll hand over to Abhay, who will talk about advantages of SFMC, followed by Ankur, who will be going over the new features of SFMC. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat window. My colleagues will be monitoring, or we can take up later during Q&A at the end. So let me get started, and then, all right. The key features of the 9.0 CU2 release that is currently rolling out and would be available by this end of the week in all the regions include support for Windows Server 2022. The OS images are available as of now, and then we can start creating new clusters using ARM templates. New cluster creation through portal is coming soon. This will show up by end of July. And Service Fabric does not support TLS 1.3 at the moment, and we are working for adding support to the same. The other feature include Mirantis container runtime support on Windows for Service Fabric containers. One thing I would like to call out here is post-September 2022, the support for Mirantis container runtime, previously which was known as Docker Engine Enterprise, would not be bundled as part of the Windows OS license. And customers will need to work with Mirantis to secure support for Mirantis container runtime. For any new workload, the general guidance is to evaluate Azure Kubernetes Service, because this option comes with the container runtime support at no additional cost. If AKS by any chance does not meet the needs, then you can continue to use Service Fabric. So on the timeline front, we are in the process of rolling out the bits to all the cloud regions, and this should be available by end of this week. And we can start using all the features that's rolling out in this release. So I'm going to pause here with respect, and I'm going to pause here and then ready to take any questions if you have. Or I can move ahead with the next on advantages of SFMC. Right. With that, I'll hand over to Abhay to talk about SFMC. Abhay.
Okay, can you go to the next slide? Perfect. Okay. So Service Fabric managed clusters are really just an evolution of what we have today, which is Service Fabric resource provider. It's the traditional cluster that we have today. And what customers do today, they use an ARM template, which is like thousands of lines, and you have to put in a lot of information from, how many VMSs you want, key vault information. I mean, there's just a ton of things that you have to get done within the ARM template itself. And by moving to SFMC, you're basically reducing your 1,000 lines of work that you got to do down to about 100 lines in a ARM template, which is in JSON format. That's really what the main advantage of SFMC does, and it basically simplifies your life as a customer, especially when you have stateless and stateful services. You're going to be able to really utilize Service Fabric and specifically SFMC. Of course, you can use it for using the traditional classic SF that I just talked about. However, with SFMC, you're going to be able to simplify your life and the IT administrator's life. So that's really what the first key advantage of Service Fabric Managed Cluster is. Thanks, Whit, for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. And so the other big problem that we saw was that customers had to manage their cluster certificate. Now, the cluster certificate, you have to now, rotate it every 90 days from a security perspective. And there's just a bunch of work you have to do to actually even get the certificate up and running. And there's just a lot of work. So in this, with SFMC, you don't have to do that, which is great, right? You just, we do it for you. We manage the certificate for you. And every 90 days it rotates. And that's really just another advantage. You're now having to kind of remove that management functionality and let Azure handle that work. And then a couple other ones that I'll just talk about really quick are Auto OS image upgrade, which is really just, you wanted to have it so that automatically whatever the latest and greatest images, you can just get it onto the cluster. And that's another one, like we just talked about with Windows Server 2022 coming out, it would just be automatically be available as well. Including another big problem that customers had were in-place OS SKU changes. So you want to change one of your SKUs, you can just do that with SFMC with minimal effort. And then, of course, you can auto scale. You can go up or down in the number of virtual machines that are out there, and you can do that via auto scale functionality that SFMC has today. So I kind of talked a lot about the fact that you're going to be decreasing the amount of work that you have to do on using the ARM template, and basically you're going to be able to prevent misconfigurations that customers have done before, causing support tickets and folks have to come out and actually try to help fix a problem. So these are some of the key advantages of SFMC. And next, what we're going to talk about is the node auto repair, which Ankur will go into detail, and also another functionality called dedicated host. He'll get into that in a moment as well. So that's kind of SFMC at a high level. Happy to take your questions, and also happy to, if you have any questions that you want to pose like via email, feel free to email me. I'll put my information in the chat as well. I'll pause here for a second for folks to ask questions. Okay. Whit, did you just come off of?
I did. I mean, I guess it's not really a active, real question because I ask it every month. But can we look forward to Linux support?
Yes, we already spoke about Linux internally. There's a leadership discussion that's occurring over by mid-August about what are we going to do about Linux, and hopefully in August we can circle back to you. I know we had that conversation via email as well, but right now it is not confirmed as of right now.
Right. I mean, yeah, because really the only reason is for cost. Windows is just double what Linux is.
Gotcha. Okay. With you on that, and we promise as we know more, we'll get back to you. And I know I've made that promise.
Or get Windows before. Cheaper. Either way. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't control pricing, but definitely happy to champion Linux. Actually, we have been championing it, but right now we just don't have that on the agenda.
Sure. No, SFMC is great. Though I've got to say, from the ARM template size, my bicep template wound up being about the same length as the original thing. So it's sometimes smaller.
Yes, sometimes smaller, right? Exactly.
With just to check in terms of Linux flavors, you're looking at support for Ubuntu?
Don't care. At least from where I'm standing, if Service Fabric runs on it, I don't really care what the underlying infrastructure is, because my biggest concern is just if I don't. I guess because so much of that is kind of handled by Service Fabric itself, I don't really have to care about what is under the infrastructure, because I'm not ever directly accessing it. All my implementation is directly on Service Fabric itself.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Whit. We're continuing to push that agenda, so I'll keep on pushing that on my side and try to see if we can add it to the next major release, which will be. We can't tell you exactly when, but it will come out eventually. But I will circle back with you once we have a confirmation that we're, quote, working on it. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to Ankur, who's I think is going to talk about dedicated host and its feature that we're going to launch for SFMC. So Ankur, are you on?
Yep.
Okay, great. Go for it.
Thank you, Abhay. Yeah, we recently launched Azure Dedicated Host support for Service Fabric Managed Cluster. So Azure Dedicated Host provides physical servers that host one or more virtual machines. Your servers are dedicated to your organization and workloads, and the capacity isn't shared with other customers. So you can provision dedicated hosts within a region, availability zone, and fault domain, and then you can place VMs directly into your provisioned hosts in whatever configuration that best meets your needs. Using Azure Dedicated Host for nodes with your Service Fabric managed cluster has following benefits, like it has the host level hardware isolation at the physical server level. So no other VMs will be placed on your host, and they are deployed in the same data centers and share the same network. Uh, Also, as you provision the host, you gain visibility into and control over the placement of Azure VMs, and you determine the host maintenance policies. So this host level isolation helps address security and compliance requirements. Um, and It also helps with maintenance policies as well. So you can enable this feature by using the template that is already present in the Service Fabric cluster template, sample cluster templates, and this is present in the preview June preview version or later. So this is something that we recently launched. If you have any questions, let me know.
I don't know, just out of curiosity, because I haven't really looked into this. I guess I had always thought the dedicated host was the full, heavy weight SKU. Is that right?
So there are some SKUs which support dedicated host, and there are some which do not. But it is a bit more expensive compared to the regular clusters. But the advantages of using it is complete isolation from everything else. So definitely, it has
Gotcha.
a lot more benefits. Yeah.
So this isn't, being able to say, I'm getting an isolated machine and can then split it up into my own separate, VMs and all that. This is just, instead of having arbitrary VMs all over the place, I just have the one here, and
Yeah.
now this has support for that.
Yep, that's
Okay.
it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So with and that is like the way you want to think about it is you have like 5 physical servers, and those 5 physical servers are going to have your set of VMs on it, and only your set of VMs on it.
Yeah, I guess so. The question would be, instead of getting like 15 smaller 2 vCPUs on a machine, I'd get one of these instead, because it if it's got the 15x capacity, have one of these because I get that the isolation from it, and of course it's a much beefier machine, so I don't necessarily have to scale as quickly, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, in order to have the minimums, I'd have to have like 3 or 5 of these.
Correct. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So moving on to the next. Divya, could you? Yeah. So we also added a capability to help keep a cluster healthy in Service Fabric managed clusters. And this is an automatic functionality, further reducing the operational management required from the customer side. So this node auto repair will detect when nodes are down in a cluster and attempt to repair them without any customer intervention. Service Fabric managed clusters, in the background, it performs a set of repair actions on the underlying virtual machines if the Service Fabric node goes down for 24 hours. So it reboots the underlying VM for the node. If the reboot doesn't bring the node up, it redeploys the node. If redeploy is unsuccessful to bring the node up, it deallocates and starts the VM back. And if the deallocation is not able to bring the node up, it reimages the node. So this is a set of action that it takes and try to bring the node up. And in the last 2 months of piloting, this feature has repaired nearly 500 nodes with remarkable success rate of 93%. And this is automatically enabled for all the SFMC clusters, so no action needed from the customers. Yeah. So this is something that we wanted to make sure that it improves the reliability as well as availability for all the customers, Service Fabric customers. So this is a major segue into that. If there are any questions, I'm happy to address that. Okay. And now we can open up for all the questions for all the slides and all the topics that we discussed.
Actually, just going on the last one, if the node, it said it takes effect if the node's been down for 24 hours. Can you change that and say a smaller time frame?
Yeah, this time frame is adjustable, and we would optimize it based on our feedback, and this can be adjusted in future. Yeah.
Cool.
Just clarity real quick, Wet, on that question. You mean like, are you looking for that to be customer adjustable? Because currently it's not, just to be clear, but like
yeah.
We are looking
just because, especially since I'm paying for the machines, whether they're actively doing something or not, it'd be a lot cooler, instead of me paying for a whole day of a machine just sitting there not working, if I could just say, hey, if it's not working for an hour, jump in there and do something about it. So if it requires reallocation to fix it, I don't want to pay for 23 hours of not doing anything.
I think that's a great feature, Whit, that you spoke about. We're happy to consider it, and we'll circle back with you if that feature made it on the list to implement.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions related to this content or Service Fabric in general?
Just in general, I've been playing around with the actors recently. Is there any active work on, any changes to the Service Fabric actors?
Not to my knowledge. Like we continue development, but there's no major changes that we've introduced.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, fairly quiet audience today. You folks should know you can always reach out to us through various channels, including emailing us, or I know GitHub has been a bit iffy in terms of getting the engagement, but we are trying to fix that as well. But if you don't have questions right now, you can always reach out to us later.
All right, great. And really quickly, Mike, I know you're answering a handful of questions in the chat. Are there any that we can surface for the recording? If there's any that we haven't covered already.
Let me just, for the recording purposes, I'll kind of reiterate Tino's question here in summary. So Tino was asking, or another customer was asking, basically, how do you install or can you install software on these managed nodes? Are they kind of obfuscated away? Do you still have that kind of permission or ability? The short answer is yes. I was discussing offline here with him, but the short recommended path would be to use what's called VM extensions, use the extension model. It looks like they were previously using RDP and manually installing application or software as needed. But to make it fully kind of automated and hands-off and less error-prone, the general recommendation again is to use extensions, which we do have documented on our public documentation site under the how-to guides. So that's it, what I was saying in summary. Please come off mute though if you have any further questions, Tino, or clarification needed. Cool. Looks like no. So. Yeah. Good point, Caesar. Wish the chat.
Yeah,
also
no worries.
I'll also repeat Witt's comment for the recording that everything worked like a charm this month, so he didn't have any questions. That's always
Yeah,
great to hear.
for once. For once. I'll have another dozen of them next month.
No, this is great. I love it when things work like a charm. This is awesome.
Me too.
Yeah, no, I mean, all great data points, great feedback as always. Folks, also as always, I'm dropping in the chat for those who are here live, if you could, and as well, I'll drop it in the comment section of the Azure Connection Programs community. If you could please give your 1-minute feedback on today's session, what went well and what do you want to hear more about from the Service Fabric team, as well as other teams across the community. And as always, I'll thank you for joining live and those who are watching the recording. One more time, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask them. Just come off of mute and ask them now. Otherwise, team, Mike, Sarah, Bridget, Ankur, everyone, I'll go ahead and hand it back to you one more time to close this out.
Yeah, so just one point I wanted to make is if customers here have ideas on improvements in SFMC, features that you guys are seeing lacking, I put my email address on the chat as well. Please feel free to reach out to me. Please add in the subject line that this is a feature request and would love to hear your feedback, or even if something's not going well, let us know. Would love to hear from you guys. Email is always fine with me.
Well, I guess just circling back then real fast on one of the issues I had opened. I guess is there ongoing work to have per node type per subnet support?
Sorry, can you repeat what you just said, Whit? I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
so like right now, you assign one subnet for the VNet, and all the node types that you have in SFMC assigned to that subnet. I guess is there ongoing work to allow multiple subnets? Like a one-to-one node type to subnet.
Got it. Within one node type is basically what you're saying is have multiple subnets. Is that correct?
No. Just be able instead of in the VNet, have a one-to-one node type to subnet, so that not all Service Fabric is running in one subnet. The main reason being for being able to set up the set up network rules, so you can have some public node type, or I'm sorry, some public public facing node types, and others that simply do not have internet access at all. Where right now, since the NSG is configured on a per subnet basis, can't do that.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say we did. I remember we did discuss it. This feature previously. It didn't make it to the list of things that we were working on, but happy to revisit that.
Whit, I'll send you a separate email on this topic to make sure the customer problem is super clear, and I'll put it into the conversation that I'm having later today with the developers, and
Sure.
have some more discussion on this, because I think if we identify the customer problem, for example, Linux, I just told the developers just now that this is something that we need to start thinking about. So we'll email you.
Sounds good. I also sent a link in the chat to a big old write-up I did about this last year.
Oh, great. I will look at that and email you, just let you know at least that we're looking at it, and circle back with you on the Linux one as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, if there's nothing else, thanks everybody for your time. Feel free to let us know if there's anything that you want to talk. And Caesar, do you want to stop the recording?
Yep, we'll do. Thanks one more time, everyone. I'll go ahead and stop the recording here.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.